Welcome to PRTV Spurs. Tottenham Hotspur 3, Crystal Palace 1 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Spurs get the 3 points. Welcome to the reaction show. A warm welcome on this Sunday afternoon. I hope the sun is shining wherever you are, because in London, the sun is shining. The weather is good. Spurs got the 3 points yesterday against the Eagles. So it's all smiles. Or is it all smiles after yesterday's 3-1 victory? Joining me to do the analysis and the reaction wrap-up is, as always, Sam, Spurs for life, and Mr. Hotspur Hurley himself, Sean. Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are we? Actually, have we recovered from yesterday's game? Have we thought about it? And are we ready?
Yeah. Obviously, being at the game, we've got a slightly different perspective, I guess, than watching it on TV. But since having seen the game live and watched the MOTD highlight, yeah, it's 3 points, but there is things to discuss, obviously.
Good. Sean, yourself? You're on mute, Sean.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, certainly live, it was a different experience to watching it on Spurs play today. I watched the whole game again, and I was maybe overreacting, I would say, in my analysis during the game, and maybe I just need to put my phone in another room while the game is on and just not bother, because certainly I've got better takes on players who I was castigating during the game yesterday, so look forward to discussing them with you all.
This is the thing, right? If you do the reaction straight after the game, you're like either in angry mode or you're in pissed off mode, and you just say it how it is, right? It's like a kind of Pringles, in it. You just pop it and you just say what you want to say. You've not thought about it because you're already angry mode. I was listening to the talk, obviously the what do you call it, after the game on Talk Sport and Radio 5 Live and all them lot, and fans were coming on and they're all saying stuff because it's heat of the moment stuff, isn't it? You're just going off reaction as it's happening. And as you said, Sean, on the WhatsApp groups, sometimes you got to put that phone away because you're watching it at home, somebody else is watching it in the stadium, and you've got two separate perspectives of players, of the team performance. So, and I've always said, and we've said this how many times, when you're at the game, it's completely different to when you're watching it at home, because there's things that you see in the stadium that you don't see at home on the telly, So what you might be saying, you're going to be having arguments with everyone, but at the end of the day, you're at the stadium, you're seeing it exactly how it is. So, yeah, and I think had we done it yesterday straight after the game, I think our views compared to today, what the views are today, it probably would have been chalk and cheese. So let's just sum up the game first before we actually go into the stats and stuff like that. So, Sam, obviously, Sam, you was at the game. Sean, you was watching it at home. So, Sam, from the game, from the stadium, just give me a little bit of a summary of what your thoughts were, and then we'll go into everything else.
Well, firstly, not to say I'm a prophet or anything, and I don't like to think I am, but I could kind of see how this game was panned out. We all got the scoreline right, 3-1. We did say that, and I said this is always going to be for me a sticky game, just for the way that teams have been able to see how we play, and that was evident yesterday. I said, what's his name, Glasnick, whatever his name is. I didn't think I didn't think he was going to rip up his complete script and start to try and play his philosophy, and so be it. They played a 5-4-1 system, and it looked like a 5-4-1 system from in the stadium. So the biggest frustration for us is knowing that you're going to play a team that's going to play in this way. Is we need more options and methods to play against that. I think we're quite one-dimensional, and as I said, because we didn't have quality throughout in terms of players in all positions throughout the team, it was evident in the final third. I think a lot of our build-up play was good. I think, again, looking at it, we controlled the ball. They did press at times, but from the stadium, you can see that there's certain areas and certain ways that they're doing things that you think, if they just did this, if they just kind of did that. Frustrating when you're watching it, but you condense the 7 minutes down from match of the day, and it looks like we had a dominant performance. You actually suggest that we did nearly 2 against their 0.29. So all in all, I think you got to be happy with the 3 points. But yeah, there's things to be improved, I think, against teams like that.
Yeah, I agree. Sean, I know you're normally at the game, but you wasn't yesterday. So watching it, wherever you was watching it, what was your take on it in a way?
Yeah, I mean, it was very reminiscent of what we've been at the time. We were very reminiscent of what has been happening, in that we're far too slow on the ball. I found the formation. Oh, sounds like there's a fight going on in the kitchen there. At times, at our formation, we seemed to be on each other's toes. There was a time, particularly during the first half, where you could almost throw a blanket over about 5 or 6 players on the edge, when we were progressing. And I just thought, come on, guys, this is a team that needs spread wide, and although I never felt we were under, I never felt we were under threat from Palace. I mean, let's have it right. 80% possession in the first half and 70% possession overall suggests that, you're always vulnerable to a touch of class like Eze provided. But looking at it again today, we plugged away. There were changes in formation and changes in players forced to come out of position in order to make things happen. And I was a bit surprised when I heard Ange post-match say he was very happy, but I can see why. Today, I can see why he said that.
Do you know what? It's like you said, innit? For me, right, there's 2 things. It's a game of 2 halves at Totttenham Hotspur Stadium now, and it's been like that for quite a while. And secondly, and most importantly for me, is everybody in the Paxton Road end needs to be given half the season ticket money back, because we never see goals from Spurs in that Paxton Road. It seems, and we've discussed this before, it seems like if we're attacking the south stand in the second half, there's going to be loads of actions, unless you turn us around like Wolves did last week and they beat us. Yeah. So it seems like the Spurs team, I don't know what it is, but they must have something against somebody, or who's somebody in that Paxton Road end, because it just doesn't happen in that first half. And again, yesterday it did. And we'll see that by the stats as well, which for me, I think first half was horrendous. And I don't know about you, Sam, because you obviously was there with me in the other on the West Stand, but that first half was pants, man. And like you said, Sean, as well, there was the players trying to like leapfrog each other. They were all overcrowding again. And this is what I've always said: why have you got a winger on the wing in acres of space, but you never want to use him? Kuti, every time he got the ball, didn't want to pass it up top to Son or Werner, because I don't know if you saw that, Sam. Amount of times they were making them runs and the ball was just not getting played. So let's just break this down then, and then let's have a look at 82% possession, 18% to Crystal Palace. 2 shots. This is the first half, by the way. Crystal Palace had 3 shots. And you're not seeing it on the screen because I've not put it on the screen, have I? There you go. Right. So 2 shots. They had 3 shots. Spurs had 1 on target. They had 2 on target. Off target, 1 to Spurs. Crystal Palace had none. Inside the box, we had 1 shot. They had 2 shots. Outside the box, we had 1. They had 1. 453 passes, of which 92% accuracy. 91%, 69%. Touches in the opposition box. Guys, we're at home. We're playing at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. 11 touches, they had 5. So looking at that, 2 shots and 1 on target at home. I don't care who your opponents are. They can be Man City, they can be Arsenal, they can be, as far as I'm concerned, Dagenham and Redbridge. But to have 2 shots and 1 on target in the first half, for me, that sums it up. The whole season, we've been so poor in the first half. Why is that then? I'll start with you, Sean. Why?
I don't know. I mean, it's like they seem to only want to score the perfect goal. It's a bit like Wenger's Arsenal. You know, you want to walk the ball around, and sometimes you just got to take a dig. I mean, there were several times when players were with an opportunity to shoot. There was also, I mean, I do remember there was a chance that Son got the ball in the opposition box, and the obvious ball was a sort of cut back to Werner to try and curl it into the corner, and he tried to reach Maddison, although there were like 3 defenders between him and Maddison. So it's just very frustrating. But Kulu in particular, why he doesn't take a shot, I have no idea. He was scoring all the time for us in his first season with us, and he just doesn't seem to want to hit the ball, you know. And you know, it's that old adage, isn't it? You haven't got a ticket. If you're in the lottery, you haven't got a ticket, then you don't win it, do you?
Or even if you've got a lottery ticket, you don't win it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you know, particularly in the first half, there was opportunities. I mean, the shot off target was in injury time.
Yeah.
And that was Bentancur blazing it over the bar.
Yeah.
Obviously, the shot on target was
Werner,
which when I look back on that, I think, although he's obviously short of confidence, I think he did the best he could to try and get round the keeper. If he'd lifted the ball, he would have probably scored. He took the ball really well. It came behind him. He took it with his heel.
Yeah.
And you know, he raced away. But you know, when your confidence is not there, then he was obviously trying to round the keeper and just put it into an empty net. But very few and far between.
Yeah.
Did we get chances? There was one breakaway, which Royal did a really, really good run, and then his cross sort of bisected Son and Werner. It went to neither, but that was because he was forced to do that by the covering defender. It was good covering defence in the end. But yeah, it's too slow. It's far too slow. They know to get it wide, but they take three chances. There's 3 passes to get it wide. It's got to go out there quicker. It's got to go there 1-2 touches.
Yeah.
Because you're giving the defence all the time in the world to reset, and it's rest defence. It just, you know, these guys have been playing football professionally for several years now. They know the score. They know that you've got to move a 5-man defence about, and you do that with pace on the ball, and they just don't do it. I was giving Basuma a lot of grief because his passes were off. They were off key. You know, players having to stop in order to receive them or go backwards when the ball was passed behind them. But looking at it again, you know, they were few and far between. I think it was just the frustration, the fact that we were so dominant in that first half, and we're just not, you know, not taking our chances or not even attempting a chance.
So you just mentioned the word dominant. Sam, I want to bring you on this one. Looking at them stats, were we that dominant? Because if you're a dominant side, and I'm talking dominant, and I'm going to bring Arsenal into it, I'm going to bring Liverpool into it, Man City into it, 2 shots, 1 on target, 1 off target. That to me is not dominance.
Okay, so we have to look at it from both perspectives. Sorry, there's background noise. It's just, yeah, it keeps being cooked. With regards to Crystal Palace, the 5-4-1 system is going to cause its own difficulties. 5 players across the back means even if you get the ball wide, there's always another player there to get close to stop the 1v1s. But there was a familiar pattern in our attacking. There's also this to think about when you are attacking. There's when you break it down, as I said, from a principal perspective, there's 3 ways to try and attack a team. You can go through them, you can go around them, you can go over the top. What we were trying to do a lot of the time was go through them. You know, when we tried to go around them, we weren't confident enough, and a lot of the attacks came down that left-hand side through Timo, and this is why he had a first and the second half. The first half, I was lambasted him because he was, you know, he looked null and void of confidence. You could see every time he was isolated against his defender, he should have been taking them on 1v1, and that proved right in the second half. But if you just look at the first half itself, we tried to go through him too many times, and then when we were getting the 1v1s, it was too slow, as Sean said. You get it out there quick and right, you've got to attack him. You don't labour, let them bring their other defender across and then play the ball back in field where they've got numbers again. So the system for them worked. And what else did Crystal Palace do well? They didn't just drop off all the time. Sometimes they pressed you. So it was a kind of, sometimes do we have more time than we've got? And we got caught out a few times. And like I keep saying, regarding when you break us down and you go into the transition, it's easy to see where the spaces are. That's what you have to attack. Crystal Palace did that. And although they didn't have many opportunities to score, they didn't have many shots on goal, they looked a threat in that transition, getting that ball into the wide areas. It's because we've got very good defenders in terms of their ability to get back, that they didn't have as many opportunities as they probably could have. Now, a better team, quicker players, more of a threat up front, let's say an Aston Villa, that would have been a completely different affair. So what we've got to do is look to see where the spaces are. The spaces are over the top. We've got left-hand side player in Timo Werner who's a lot quicker than Kulu. So that's where all the play was coming down. Get the ball over the top, let him run on. And when we did that, he got a 1v1. It's just that he's not confident in front of goal. Give that to Son, as we've seen, and it's a different matter. So you've got to look at ways of playing against a team like Crystal Palace, against a team that's got a low block. They were playing high, and that's what I noticed in the stadium. They were playing very high, and we had opportunities over the top.
So that was the first half. A very, very frustrating first half indeed. And there was a lot of fans, very disgruntled fans, because like both of you already said, there was just nothing going forward. And at home, you expect some kind of urgency, but what you've said as well, Sam, is the way they play, the way they set it up. Obviously, every manager is now coming to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and they know if they can strive us quite easily, and Spurs do get frustrated. Wolves proved it last week, where if you even spin them around and make us kick against the South in the first half, they can make life complicated even more.
Now, do you remember what we talked about in our preview when we said at home we should try to, and it's almost like I always want it to be an all-out, guns blazing, just go and attack, because if you get that first goal, that whole game is different. That whole first half is different. It then becomes more of a, all right, we need to try and get back into this game from Crystal Palace. Or do they say, right, we're going to try and hold on to this, only 1-0 down. But then you keep going for it. You get 2-0 scoreline has a completely different mentality for the opposition, particularly if you get that first 2 goals in like the first 20, 25 minutes. But after 20 minutes, you was there, Sid. It was boring. It was like
boring.
We're not doing the right things because they were nullifying us, and that's the problem. Got to take advantage. And like I said, you're just unfortunate being in the North Stand, because it seems like the second half is always the case.
Yeah,
always the case.
And it's like the guy who sits next to me, he turned around and said he was in a coma, and I'm like, do you know what? You're right. It felt like everybody was in a coma because it was just that bad. Now, what happens that second half? What happens what actually happens in that dressing room? Because second half then becomes 74% possession, 26% to Crystal Palace. 12 shots, they have 1. We have 5 on target, they have 1 on target, which was the goal. We have 5 off target, they have none off target. Inside the box, we have 11 shots inside the box. They don't have any. Outside the box, we have 1. They have 1. Passes, 365, 87% accuracy. 135, 70% accuracy. Touches inside the box. What do you reckon, guys? How many touches did we have inside the box?
I'd say lots. I don't know how many.
26. They had 3. So, Sam, like I said, it's a game of two halves with Tottenham Hotspur, isn't it? Look at the second half now. Completely different. So, this is the same team that came out first half that comes out second half. But why does it take 45 minutes for them and then a 15-minute break to wake up?
So, in that sense, that's why halftime is why we have half times. It allows the manager to get into these players to kind of give them the information as to what they need to do to improve. And it wasn't that Crystal Palace played any differently. Stats suggest that they played pretty much exactly the same. They just scored in the second half as opposed to not scoring in the first half. But what we did more was we were more direct. The slight difference in possession meant that we were getting the ball and moving it a little bit quicker into areas of danger. Those areas of danger proved to be Timo Werner. Now, this is why I said I gave him pelters in the first half. I gave him pelters throughout the game on a wider scale. But when you condense what he actually did in the game, he was our main threat, obviously along with Son and then Maddison to a degree later on in the game. But Timo Werner was the threat because every time he got the ball, they didn't know whether to drop off him or they go to him. When they were trying to go to him, he then started to go the 1v1s. And even when they had 2 to 3 players, he was still going to the byline. So what we did is we created opportunities by getting the ball into the box. When you get the ball in the box, that's where you score most of your goals. And that's how we were able to look better because we were doing that more so and not just getting the ball on the wide areas and playing it back in the field. If you watch the second half, he was getting the ball and he was getting to the byline. And that's where we were causing them more and more problems.
And on that as well, Sean, we obviously we got at him more and more. Werner got into the game more and more. But it took after 70 minutes until Eze scored that free kick. And I'm not going to lie, as soon as they got that free kick, it was another needless, stupid foul that doesn't need to be done. Yeah, Bentancur's just done a stupid foul, which we're known for doing that. But as soon as Eze stepped up for that kick, I said to my boy, what do you reckon, top bins? Because I said to him, it's a goal. I just sensed it that Eze was going to score that goal. And lo and behold, he scores the goal. And then we wake up again. So does it need the opposition to score first then? Because I know what you said, Sam, is we need to kind of get these 2 goals, early goals. We're not doing that. Sean, are we now...
Two things.
Go on.
The foul was necessary.
You think so?
Eze was just about to score.
Oh,
let's have it right. Eze was about to score, and he had to be taken down. So I'm not having it. I'm not with you on that, I'm afraid.
I disagree, but go on.
And the second thing was that it was totally against the run of play. We were dominant at that point. And you know, you can go back and watch it because we were dominant. We'd hit the post. We'd had a very good shout for a penalty call, turned down. Maddison had taken got a yellow card against Werner, which seemed to fire him up. He started to come into the game more and more. He was dropping deep. There was a slight change in formation in that we went quite deep in order to pick up the ball. I thought we were causing them a lot more problems, and you know, it was a worldie of a free kick. It was brilliant, you know, and a well worked free kick. But he had to make the foul. You know, what you're going to do is you're going to go concede a goal. At least with a free kick, you might have a chance to defend it with a decent wall. That's you know, I'm not having that on Bentancur, no. But we were dominant at that point, and we continued to dominate afterwards. You know, I mean, look, the stats back me up. You know, we you know, as I say, we could have been 2 up before they scored. If Son's shot had not taken a slight nick off of Anderson and hit the post, and if the referee had bothered to have a look at that. I mean, there's such a stonewall penalty. Unbelievable.
So
Unbelievable.
On what level, I'll ask both of you this, on what level is that not a penalty? Because from what I heard on the talk radio shows, they were like, how was that not a penalty? MOTD last night, obviously they didn't mention it, but they did sort of say it. They didn't actually analyze it, but they did say that that was a penalty. So how is that not a penalty? What did he do for the referee to say it's not a penalty? Because even VAR brushed it off within seconds.
See, the problem for me with the penalty thing is penalties are still subjective, you know, in terms of what you see. So I don't actually mind the decision not being given for us. What I do mind is it didn't even go to VAR. They just brushed it off. The referee didn't even have an opportunity to go and see it, because if he had seen it, and that's what they did on MOTD, looked at it from one angle, it didn't look a penalty. Looked at it from another angle, it looked a penalty. So again, the VAR thing is more so than the actual fact of whether it's given or not, because we could both look at it and think different things. That's one thing I would say about that. Just going back a stage regarding the Eze thing, I tend to agree with Sid on this one. Sure, not because I'm just being obstructive, but I do think that he didn't need to make that foul, because one thing, there was defenders behind, and the other thing is, even if he takes a shot, remember where the free kick was taken. Hold on. Remember where the free kick was taken? It wasn't inside the box, because it would have been a penalty, so it was still outside the box. For me, that's not a guarantee of scoring. He scored from the free kick because obviously it was well played. But if he'd have taken a 20-yard shot, we still could have potentially had a block, potentially had the keeper safe. So that's one thing. Regarding the free kick itself, I think there was some issues in there in terms of where the wall was positioned and where Vicario was positioned. If you look at it, the wall was positioned to the right of the goal from where Vicario is looking, but then he's almost centre of goal when the free kick's taken. That's an error. If you watch, I was watching it from where I was sat, and I thought to myself, all he has to do is put it where his Palace defenders were, because Palace lined up their own separate wall. So that's the side of the goal that you have to stay in. If it goes over our wall and into the goal, brilliant free kick, fantastic. But it didn't. It went the side that Vicario was supposed to be. Now, had he been 2 feet over, he would have made that save. He took a step to his right and then went to his left. So there was errors in that. But for me, the whole build-up to giving that free kick, I personally think they should have let him go through potentially to make that save. Yeah, he could have scored. I don't know. I can't say with certainty. But
there was no block on, Sam. There was no block on.
Fairs, I might have to look at it again, but I certainly think where he was 20 yards out, you still think your keeper can make saves there. I personally think so.
A player of Eze's quality.
I don't know. As I said, hindsight and it could be he scored a worldie, but he scored a worldie from the free kick anyway, in a sense. But I still think there was errors in there that we could have probably reduced.
So, second half, right? Again, let's look at that, and then overall, then. I don't know. I mean, overall, it was 78-22, 14 shots. Crystal Palace had 4. Spurs had 6 on target. They had 1 on target. We had 6 off target. They had 2 off target. 12 shots inside the box, 2 for Crystal Palace. 2 outside the box, 2 for Crystal Palace. 89% passing percentage, whereas they had 70%. And touches inside the box, 37 Tottenham, 8 to Crystal Palace. Are we actually gonna start having more shots from outside the box? Because we say this week in, week out, don't we? We just don't want to shoot from. There was times, I don't know what you thought about this, Sam and Sean, but there was times outside the box when Madazzi's got the ball and all you can hear is shoot, shoot, shoot. But then he just brings it back or decides to flick it over or something. I don't know. Is he lacking confidence in shooting from outside the box? Because at Leicester, I would love to see what he's shooting and whatever it was from outside the box. Because as far as I'm aware, he did score quite a few from outside the box. So is he just a little bit still not 100%? And is he just not, his confidence not that high for him to start shooting from outside the box?
No. Right. First, before I get into that, and then I'll be brief because I want Sean to come into this. If you look at those all stats, sorry, the camera's leaving. If you look at those overall stats, in a cold light of day, having not watched the game, that's a dominant home performance.
Yeah.
With the scoreline, that's a dominant home performance. When you've got 818 passes to 226, 37 touches inside the box to 8, with all those shots and the shots on target, that's a dominant performance if you get 3 goals out of it. But again, we look at the big picture, we look at the whole game, and we look at the game in stages. It was a close game because even at 1-1, we didn't score again until the 80-something minute. So again, it could have been different had they got a set piece, scored a dribble, all the rest of that stuff. I look at that and I think, what did we do? Was it an urgency thing? Was it a case of like that they knew they had to just dig it out? It was quality for me. The quality showed in the end. If you think about it, that 1v1 that Son had, everybody in the stadium knew he was going to score. Yeah. Everybody. We all stood up. We was like, this is a goal. We're smiling because we know it's going to be 3-1. The quality that Maddison showed again from the cross that he got for Romero's goal, great. But going back to your point about the shooting from outside the box, I don't think they're told to shoot from outside the box too often because, as Sean said, we want to score the perfect goal. We want to do intricate stuff. They don't want to take them opportunities. Arsenal were guilty of that for some time until they started to shoot. And it makes the opposition think differently. If we're predictable in terms of how we're going to be intricately playing, creativity comes from that, but you can set your defence up so that you don't go through the middle of us. As I said to you, 3 ways of scoring: through, around, or over. If you're just 3 blocks in there, you're not going to get too many opportunities. So take them opportunities to shoot if you can't score the perfect goal. That's what I think we need to improve on.
But then before I come to you, Sean, if you shoot from outside the box, you've got a couple of possibilities, right? A, you're going to score. B, you're going to probably miss the target. C, you get a deflection or anything and it goes into the back of the net. And D, it can hit the post, it can get a deflection, it can get anything and a rebound and your players are following in and you've got a tap in. You've got 4 possible scenarios there. Whereas if you're trying to get the perfect goal, how many times did we even have anybody inside the box yesterday for that to have that perfect goal?
So just to answer that, if you look at the stats, and this goes for grassroots football all the way through to elite level football, most goals are scored inside the box. That's just a fact. That's a fact that goes back to football from the day it started to everything in the future. More goals will be scored inside the box than outside the box. Hence the reason why you do and try to get. That's why they do that. Touches inside the box. That's why they say, if you look at that stat, if you get more touches in the box, you're more likely, if you get a shot from goal, to score than you are outside the box. So I can understand from a coaching perspective, having done that, why they might not. The problem I've got is sometimes you just got to do it. Players have to take ownership of that situation. If you look and see Maddison, when he was at Leicester, he took ownership of those situations. Now, maybe he's just coming back from injury and maybe he's not got the opportunity. Maybe he's looking for that perfect thing. Maybe he's looking for that intricate ball. And then it's like, wow. But you're right. Just sometimes. But I don't know if we've got that many great shooters in our team. That's the problem. I don't think we have. From outside the box.
Yeah, on the long shot one, there was a one in the second half. If you look back on the full match, where the ball's dropping to Maddison on the edge of the box, and Cooley takes it off his toes.
Yes.
Yeah. So that we do miss an opportunity. Again, there was an opportunity for someone, but we don't. Basuma, I wouldn't give Basuma a shot from 6 yards, let alone 16 yards. Honestly, he's terrible. Bentancur seems to score goals close in rather than long range. We don't have a specialist. Sarr used to do it for Metz, and he has done it for Senegal. But obviously, presumably we're going to look at the lineup. He wasn't picked yesterday and only came on as a substitute. And there is another option as well when you take a shot. It gets a deflection and becomes a corner. Yeah. And that creates another attacking opportunity. So I just think we need, I see them training and I see them doing these, it is a big part of Ange is getting to the byline and cutting the ball back. And we did score. The first goal was a classic Ange ball goal. and we'll get into individual players. But I do feel that we need a specialist in midfield who can take a shot from distance. The ball cut to cut back to the 18-yard line, so that we have three options. That there's the ball across the 6-yard line, there's the ball back to the penalty box, and then there's the ball back to the edge of the 18-yard line, because you're turning a defender. And I want us to take shots early in the game, because there's nothing that unsettles a defence that has been told they're just going to try and play around you. And in the first 10 minutes, if you face 3 shots from outside the box, suddenly then your whole game plan, your whole mindset is messed about. And I just wish we'd take a few chances at having a shot. And we did, particularly if you look at the first 15 minutes in particular, which I concentrated on today, we were giving them a bit of a hard time, but we're getting to the edge of the box and no one prepared to have a dig. And it keeps the keeper on his toes as well. Sam has said it. He says it every week. I think it's fine margins. Getting turned around at a kickoff is a fine margin thing. Everton did it to us. Wolves did it to us. Everton nearly got a point, and Wolves took all 3 points. We've got to be less predictable. And I think if we can take shots early in the game, because it also has a galvanising effect on the fans as well. I think, to be fair, from the stream at Spurs play, fans were excellent yesterday. I thought the fans were excellent, and although Palace were loud, I thought our fans backed the team as best they could. But
what I want to know is, was that man sat next to me this side? It's his favourite chant he was up against yesterday. So was he chanting?
Listen, when they started singing that tune, I had a slide grin. It was like a tongue-in-cheek, because I love that song. I love it. And when they started singing, they were singing it loud.
They were bloody loud, weren't they?
But going back to what Sean made some really good coaching points. It's like he's actually a coach now. Wow, I like that. The three things he said, the 3 options when you get to the byline is exactly that. What you do is you attack the 6-yard box. You also have someone who's attacking the penalty spot, and you also have someone who's able to attack the 18-yard in and around that sort of area. And it gives you those 3 options to be able to score. Players going towards the 6-yard box can get the tap in. Players attacking the penalty spot, because that's where a lot of the ball actually ends up. And then players on the edge of the box, if you then cut it back to be able to get them long ranges. So that's where we missed a little bit of a trick. But again, saying that, we did do some of that, and I saw some opportunities that we did create. But you're right, we don't take enough shots on outside the box, man. I don't know why, but I think it's probably down to the coaching. Yeah,
exactly. And if all the listeners listening, if you've got 50p, can you please put it in Sean's slot, because I think he's just disappeared at the moment. So we don't know what's happened there. Maybe his battery's low or he's run out. But hopefully he'll come back in. And he wanted to do this as well, so we'll have to see. But if he comes back on, and here he is. Let's have a look. Did you put the 50p back in the slot, lad?
I went to get my new book. Here we are.
How to watch football. Right. So, was you surprised by the starting lineup? I was, because I was expecting Saw to be in there instead of Bentancur. So, quick one on that, and then we'll do the rest. But was you surprised by that, Sean?
Yeah, very surprised that Saar wasn't playing. A wee bit anxious when I didn't see him there, because I was. I've yet to see Basuma and Bentancur play well together, and they struggled through the first half.
Yeah,
but I think they got a measure of each other as the game progressed. But yeah, it's not, when you need a bit of pace, they're not the quickest. And sometimes like Basuma can be a bit ball watching rather than watching his man. So, but give them their due. They contrive to get the equaliser, and then obviously I think I'm going to have to commend Ange on his substitutions because he got them absolutely spot on.
Okay, Sam, just your quick thoughts on Bentancur.
I was surprised that Dogi started, but obviously he was fit enough because he obviously did start. The midfield three, I think Andrew's always wanted to be able to play the midfield three to see what they're like of Bentancur, Basuma and Madison. He made that clear. He said he couldn't wait for that. I think what's made it clear for me is that Sarr gives you that little bit more of an engine and the ability to cover ground a bit more than those two. Certainly Bentancur, I think, still lacking a bit of fitness. And Basuma, I think he makes too many errors sometimes, and just when he does do things, quality player, but like I think Sean mentioned, he's giving the ball away 5 yard, 6 yard, 10 yard passes. Man, what's going on here? That's not.
It's not just giving the. It's not just giving them away. It's his passing is slightly, it's slightly to the left of a player, or and it's not in the stride of a player.
Yeah,
like you would coach him to. If the player's in motion, that the ball's put slightly in front of them so they can take it on the run.
Exactly as you said. That's a coaching perspective. You play in their run, not behind them, so they have to check. Because once you do that and they've checked, it gives the defender another 2-3 yards to get ahead of them. So there's little fundamental errors, and I can't understand that. It's consistent with him.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that consistency with Sarr, so that was a big surprise. I thought the front three would be the front three.
I think Postecoglou said, didn't he, about Sarr that he had a little bit of a back injury. That's why he didn't start the game when he went with Bentancur. And then obviously he used him to come on the bench. So I've got a quick question for you. This middle two here, and I'll tell you my point. I don't think these two can play together, because watching them yesterday as well, I think they're two similar kind of players. I think, and this is my opinion, it's got to be one of these two plus Sarr. I don't think these two, unless we see them at full 100% fully fit, I just don't see these two. I think they're two similar players. And like you said, Sean, at the beginning, there was too many times in the first half where all of them were just around each other, didn't know what to do. They're jumping over each other.
Sorry, Sean.
No, either of you. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, in terms of the types of opposition, there is a reason why I think he probably played Bentancur, Basuma, and Madison. Because I'm not saying that Sarr's not up there with that technical, but I think those three players are probably more technical than Sarr is. I'm sure Sarr's up there, don't get me wrong, but I think in technique, those three. So if you're playing a team that's not really going to want the ball much, and you're trying to break them down, you're trying to do all the intricate stuff, I can understand playing those three. The problem being is, because we give the ball away softly sometimes, and we get caught in areas of the pitch where they can move the ball and transition quickly, those two don't have the legs of Sarr at times. And I think that's what we saw with the Eze goal. In a sense, I think if Sarr gets there a little bit quicker. Maybe the foul's done a little bit earlier, as opposed to being 22 yards out, it's 26 to 30 yards out. That's just little, and those are the fine margins of what I'm talking about. You get a free kick that's 30 yards out as opposed to 20 yards out, you're less likely to score. Those are the things. And that's why I think Sarr's so fundamentally important to the team. Not because he's better than those players technically necessarily, but he has that engine. If you've got Madison, who's going to be primarily a forward-thinking player, you need someone that's box to box with him if you're going to play a double pivot like we did yesterday. And you have the ability then to have someone who can join in that play quicker, but also get back quicker. Basuma and Bentancur, I don't think quite have that. Maybe it's a fitness thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Sean, what do you think? Alex got experience. He's saying here, 70 minutes of frustration and constipation yesterday. The final third is a big problem area for me. What do you think on this Sarr, Bentancur and Basuma? Do you think Bentancur and Basuma can work together?
I'm not ruling it out ever.
Yeah.
I'm not ruling it out ever because I think that they are, on their day, they're really quality players. But I think it's the whole midfield and then the link between them and the front forwards, which seems to be breaking down. It required substitutions for it to work. And yesterday, but I mean, again, watching the game back this morning, Bentancur did a lot of very useful play in trying to bring Werner particularly into the game, but it was, you know, it's sometimes it's that pass coming from the two centre backs that takes, you know, and I love Romero. I love his passion, and he has got the ability to make a pass, but sometimes he's too slow. It's too slow, and by the time he's released the pass, you know, we're all bottled up. We're all, you know, and it's, you know, the number of times I saw Royale receiving the ball in the inverted fullback, and because he was like this, facing back to Romero, it just went straight back.
Yeah,
you know, it didn't give him an opportunity to go on the half turn, for example, which he did do in the second half. And I have to say, Royale, I thought, had a very good game yesterday, particularly defensively.
Yeah.
I mean, as I say, they didn't really threaten us, but particularly in the first half, I remember him making 2 or 3 really good blocks, and he also got forward in support of the attack. So he had one of his better games. Yeah.
Sam, how many times did you see yesterday, going back to what Sean was saying, when Kuti got the ball, how many times did you see Son and Werner making them runs and then backtracking because the ball was never played to them?
It's a big part of it, what I'm saying. You've got players who have got pace to burn, and when the ball's on, football's all about attacking spaces. You know, if you listen to all the managers, that's what they talk about. Where's the space? Where's the space? Can you attack the space? Find where that space is, and you play the ball into that space. That's what players are running into that space. So that's the two things. You either play the ball into the space, or the player gets into the space to be played the ball to. And too many times, as you said, there's opportunities to play, and they didn't. And that's just the kind of little bits that you want to be able to sort of like happening more and more naturally. And I think it will come, because remember, a lot of these players haven't played that many times together. I know they train every single day, but they haven't played together necessarily, and that cohesion comes from playing. I think the subs were good. I think Brennan Johnson is an impact player for me at this moment in time, and he's a good impact player.
Hold that 1 second. Hold that thought. Right. So the first sub I was going to say, right, go on, carry on now. Johnson for Bentancur. I think when he came on, we've got sort of, well, you could say, but I think Johnson sort of changed the game. So on that first substitution, because I want to talk about the second one, and I want both your opinions on the second one. But what did you think of that first substitution? You was going, Sam. You was carry on.
Again, I'm looking at, and this is where people have to look and see, there was a tactical change in terms of what Ange did. He put Kulusevski in that position. So taking Bentancur off meant that it wasn't now a double pivot. It meant that we were attacking from those central areas, because it was a 1 and a 2 in front, but also with the ability for Kulusevski to go into that wide area as well. So it was almost like a 2-pronged attack. You could attack through the middle because you had 2 players in Maddison and Kulusevski that could receive the ball and do something. And I think Kulusevski's better in that position because he doesn't have the pace all the time to go around. But he also has a trickery when he does play in the wide areas to do what he does and get to the byline, and sometimes cut it back or whatever, and link up. And there was a bit of link up play with Royal in that sense. So I think from a tactical perspective, that was spot on from Ange. And obviously with Brennan Johnson being on the right hand side, as we've always said, he always looks better. He always looks better. And and then he harried that play. He harried the defender on the ball, and he did exactly what he was supposed to do. The run that Werner made, the double run, kind of run back towards the box, the edge of the box, and then he ran towards the goal. And the play ball, you can't stop that. You can't defend that sort of goal. You can't. It's impossible.
Even before that, Johnson should have scored anyway when he had that shot from Werner's cross. He should have buried it. Sean, what did you think of that Brennan substitution? Did you think he made a massive impact as soon as he came on?
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously it allowed, as Sam indicated, a slight change in the formation. I wouldn't say it was necessary that he abandoned the double pivot, because I felt, in actual fact, that Maddison went deeper, and it was maybe Kulusevski was in the more advanced role, but they interchanged more, you know, and that's difficult for when they're you know, because I mean they as every club does, they do a job on Maddison. I mean, the number of kickings he took yesterday was unbelievable, and that they know that he's a bit fiery, and you know you can understand that they want to get a bit of get him to retaliate, and then get a red card. So yeah, Yeah, I thought it was a fantastic substitution, and kudos for that work he did to win the ball off of was it Anderson?
Yeah,
for the first goal. And not only that, not just only to beat Anderson, but also to go through the second tackle. I think that was that Werner?
yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
So that was something. And then his cross was perfect. But I tell you what made that for me was the intelligence of Werner, because he saw that Son had done the penalty spot. So he said, I need to do the 6-yard line. You know what I was saying earlier about there are 3 positions we want players on the edge of the box, and we've got a player in that position. And he went to the 6-yard line, and the ball came across to him, and he dispatched it with aplomb. Very good. I was happy for him.
Right. So I want your thoughts on the second substitutions, because I think I said it to you, Sam, didn't I? We just went 2-1 up. We was firing Palace. We was constantly, like you guys said before, threatening them. You've just gone 2-1 up from 1-0 down. And then he took, I think, 2 players that were causing issues, Werner and Maddison, and brought on Højbjerg and Saar. At that point, I thought it was bizarre substitutions. I thought that was a bizarre. What's your take on that, Sean?
Again, I think you got it right. You got it right, because, and I'm going to put my hand up here. I thought that was probably one of the best substitution performances by Pierre-Emile Højbjerg this season, because not only did he break things up, he was looking to go forward, and he only reverted to type and pass backwards when there was no other option. He was very positive. He got stuck in. He moved the ball forward. He tried to progress the ball, and hats off to him. He played like an handball substitute, probably for the first time ever. But that was a really good move. And Saar's just, Saar was everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, he was playing sort of left midfield, but then I saw him, helping when the defence got in a bit of a pickle at the back. He was back at sort of like right wing back to try and help the triangles to get the ball out, and and it helped. So now I mean, Werner's probably tired. He'd been putting in a lot of big shift at that point. And Maddison, we need to look after Maddison, because, as I say, he gets an awful lot of kick-ins.
Okay. 100% agree with that. I think initially when you see the substitution, I guess it was a stage to right. Okay, I'll backtrack. Palace weren't really gonna be a threat from open play. They were always going to be possibly a threat from set pieces. So that was the only thing. So I can understand again, maybe strengthen that area. Højbjerg certainly can help in that situation, and maybe there's a little bit more steel in the midfield if you've got Højbjerg and Saar as opposed to Saar and Maddison. We were in control of the game throughout. It was just the scoreline being 2-1 at the time, making you think, oh, it's a little bit sticky because we've seen it before. But from a manager's perspective, as the manager said after the game, he always felt he was in control. So I can see why. He didn't think they were going to be a threat from open play. So he could take that risk, and, we can either do one of 2 things. We can consolidate our scoreline, or we can improve on that. We was always going to be a threat, regardless of whether we had Maddison or not. We've seen that we're always a threat in terms of goal attempts, etc., and particularly in that second half against the South Stand. So, yeah, it could have backfired had they scored. We'd all be sitting there saying, oh, well, how can you take Maddison? How can you do that? But it didn't. We got a 3rd goal, and it was a comfortable game after that.
The rest of the substitutions then, Lo Celso for Basuma and Scarlett for Son. I'm under one of these impressions that you don't take your captain off unless he's injured. And I think last season when Kane was there, when Son was taken off quite a lot, but as captain, and he's done it quite a few times now, hasn't he? With a couple of minutes to go, why would you want to take your captain off? I don't know, unless there's a reason why, maybe wanting to get the applause or whatever. I don't know.
Two schools of thought. One is to protect the player, and protect the player from himself. Son, has played all that time in the Asian Cup. it doesn't take long to get a muscular strain. Even 30 seconds less playing can make a difference in that, because you know you could have played on to the end, could have got an injury. The same with Maddison. Now, when you're dealing with Maddison and Son being our two best players in terms of attacking threat, Son being our best player, I think you've got to wrap him up where you can. So I'm not going to, again, no problem. Again, if the score was different matter, but Palace weren't going to come back and when we were 3-1 up.
Cool. Right. So finally, obviously we've talked about most of the players on there, but we just keep forgetting about somebody who we all went, oh shit, he's going off now. What's going to happen? And then what a Rolls Royce of a performance again. Van der Ven. This guy is just getting better and better and better in it. Because I text you, didn't I? And I think you put it on the group, Sam. As soon as he got injured, we went, oh shit. Because Dragusin and then Davis started warming up, and now we thought, oh, here we go. It's going to be going off. And then man goes off, comes back on, and plays like nothing ever happened. And some of the cover runs and stuff like that he was doing, this guy, we've got to put, you know, what Barcelona do, £1 billion get out clause or something on this guy, because he's just getting better and better and better.
Yeah, and obviously trust to be able to play aggressively with the height, because I remember seeing so many times yesterday, they were almost like they were, you know, like when a sprinter is getting ready to start on the starting blocks, they were doing that a lot on the halfway line. It's almost like ready when the ball's played over, and no one's going to beat him in a sprint race. So that's why they play the high line, because in the 50 yards, you ain't going to beat him in a race. But if you're 20 yards back and that's played, you might get a perfect ball, which allows an attack to score more. So that's the reason for playing that aggressive high line with players who've got pace and ability. I've got no problem with that. He's a great player, and I just hope that he doesn't get injured, because I was scared.
That's what I mean. Sean, what's Dragusin? What's he thinking then, Dragusin? What's he Dragusin? What's he thinking? Dragusin? Is he thinking, how am I going to get into this team with these two? What do I need to do? What have I done? What have I done to deserve this? Or is it just going to be like his mom said? He's young. He's just got to buy his time. He'll get his opportunity, and when he does, he's just got to take it.
Yeah, he'll get his chances. Don't worry. There'll be times when we need to do tactical substitutions where we bring off a centre back as well, and Radushin will get his opportunity. You know, he's settling in. He's learning a new system. He's not had a pre-season. So it's all a bit new and novel at the moment. So I don't want to put any undue pressure on him. And without Van der Ven, the third goal doesn't happen.
Yes.
Doesn't happen because he turned Mateta inside out and then progressed the ball up the wing, and then it was Johnson, who by this time had moved to the left-hand side and was giving Munoz a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Who sets up that chance, which, as Sam alluded to, you knew that someone was going to score from that, you know.
Yeah, it was never going to miss, was he? Right. No. So we going into that game yesterday, we did say how important it was, and I think Sam and I think few of us said it, that at the end of the day, it's get to that point now where it's points over performance, and we still got a bit of a performance in the second half, but most vitally, we got the 3 points, because obviously Aston Villa playing catch up with us now, and table going into next week where we actually go to Villa Park. Liverpool 63 points, Manchester City second on 59. They play Man United today. Arsenal on 58. They play Sheffield United tomorrow. Aston Villa on 55 and Spurs on 50. And then we've got a 6-point lead over Man United, who are 44. So, obviously, we didn't want Villa to win yesterday, but it is what it is now. Sets up for a mouth-watering tie at Villa Park. And Cuti Romero hasn't had a yellow card in 2024. Are we saying next week's going to be a red? Because he comes up against Matty Cash, doesn't he? But what a mouth-watering time next week's going to be. I think that I personally think we have to win that game, because if we don't if Villa beat us, that's 8 points. And then we've got that month of April where we've got some freaking hard ties. Must win next week then, boys?
I'll be quick. I don't think it's necessarily a must win. I think it's a must not lose. The reason I'm saying that is I think Villa, with the European campaign that they've got, may have some games where they don't necessarily get the win, but they might pick up a draw. So I think we can capitalise on that. But you're right in what you're saying. The April games are going to be a little bit of a problem if they occur back to back like they show they are. But again, FA Cup, potentially Champions League, I don't know, might affect that. I'm not sure. I think we've got to put a performance against Villa. That's the big thing for me, because Villa are not going to do what Crystal Palace have done. Villa at home are going to do exactly what Villa have been doing at home all season. So there's no change from Unai in that sense, and that might play into our hands. Yeah, Sean.
Yeah, I'm with Sam. It's not necessarily a must win, but it's definitely if we've got aspirations to be in the top 4, then it's a must not lose. I think, I mean, I will take a draw next week, to be fair, and let the fixture pile up for Villa work against them, and obviously if they get to the final, then it will mean that that they'll have that distraction on their mind as well, because no player wants to miss a European final, irrespective of what tournament it's in. So let's just concentrate on our games. We've got a couple of more home games which should be winnable after that as well. So let's just focus on that. Let's try not to lose next week, and enjoy the game if we can.
Right.
Yeah. We're about done because I have to nip off pretty soon. But yeah, I think we are. But it's been again, this is Spurs, isn't it? This is what we do. And the fact that we're still in a good position come 26 games played.
Yeah. Transition, isn't it? It's transition. It's a transition season this year, isn't it? And wherever we end up, whatever happens, it's progression. There's a lot of things happening too quickly, and a lot of Spurs fans got carried away with that, because obviously Ange came and all the players came in and we went on kind of a mission, and then we got injuries, and then now we're slowly, getting back into it. We're winning, losing games, and he's still tweaking the system. Players are getting tweaked. I think it's next season and the summer window where if he gets more players and stuff like that, is going to be interesting next season. I think this season is just one of them, as they say, it's a free hit for Postecoglou. He gets to see what players can do what, how, and when, who's committed, passion.
If you think about it, we'll have 2 almost new players coming. Dragosan, I think, will be the next season more so than this season, because we'll have more games we're going to play. We're going to be playing European football next season regardless. So I think that's where he'll come into it. And as Sean said, he's transitioning from a new to another country from somewhere else. And then there's that Lucas Bourvil, who's potentially looking like a very, very, very talented player. Again, very young. We'll see what happens with him. But yeah, once we get another 6 to whatever weeks it is in pre-season coaching with these players, they get used to each other more. So I think next season is a big season.
Absolutely.
So there's more football to be played. That's the other thing. There's more football to be played.
Exactly. Right then. So, final thoughts then after yesterday's game, and then obviously going into next week. Sean?
Yeah. Final thoughts. Put your phones away while the game's playing. Right? And watch it on Spurs play the next day, and you'll see different things. But whatever you are, you're a supporter. You're a fan, a fanatic. Fan is a shortened version of fanatic. We back our team. And if we can do no more. If things conspire and we don't get into the top 4, then we've had a great season. We've got some great memories of this season, and there's still a few games to come.
Exactly. Totally agree with you, Sean, there, 100%. Sam?
Yeah, I'll be quick. We're getting to that stage of the season now where, again, looking back, it's all about the 3 points. We looked at the game yesterday in isolation whilst we're watching it, and you kind of think, oh, there's this. But at the end of the day, when we looked at those stats, we won 3-1, 26 games into a season, the last 12 games, you don't really care how you play at times within context, but you want to get 3 points as many times as possible. And if we do that, get more 3 points than we do, performances, then I'm happy with that because it means we'll be top 4.
Yeah. I think Alex experience is saying here. So Ragusin was supposed to be a database player, big 6'4", and he needs to transition. It's not about transitioning. It's about, you can't just bring him in and put him straight into the team. Every team has a squad of players. Man City have got how many players? You've got to embed them into the team. And at some point, he will get his chance. You can't just put him in and, drop players that have been playing all season. So I think it's just a matter of waiting, buying his time, and he'll get it. I'm wondering if Romero is off to Real Madrid next season and Dragusin is his replacement. That would worry me. I don't think so. I think Romero's made it clear he's very happy at Spurs. And he said the whole player, the atmosphere, he's loving it. And he's vice captain as well. So I don't see him going anytime soon unless something drastic happens. Anyway, thank you very much, everybody in the comment section. Jews Nuts, the Alex Scott Experience, Leslie Crawford, everybody else that's been watching us. If you already haven't subscribed to PRTV Spurs, what you're waiting for, go there, subscribe to the channel, because you'll get informed of all the beautiful, lovely shows that we do week in, week out. We don't, because we're fanatics of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club and we love to do it. Whatever you're doing this weekend, obviously it's coming up to the end. Enjoy the beautiful sunshine today. We've got the 3 points. Enjoy. And as always, and I'll say week in, week out, come on, you Spurs.
Develop,